Let's rock and roll here. We're going to start with our little COVID update. So if at our last exciting episode, we predicted you. So far, our predictions have all been true. We predicted further pushbacks of the date. Here's another prediction that is almost guaranteed to be true. Right now, today, as of right now, this is August 7th, 2020. The official opening date is September 1st. I don't think that's going to happen. The prediction, and I know Scott agrees, we've talked about this before, the prediction is that they're going to push that date back imminently, and that date's going to be pushed back to at least October 1st. I got a couple of snippets over here. I'm not going to read them, but there's a bunch of articles that give you sort of all the signals. Neighbor island mayors to the governor reinstate the inner island quarantine, keep the schools closed. Lieutenant Governor Green hints at a potential 30-day lockdown. Ige said Hawaii may delay plans to reopen travel amid COVID-19 surge. The unscientific poll says, keep it closed. So everything is pointing in the direction that this COVID thing is going to remain closed. And what happened yesterday, just yesterday, I had to add this slide on. Just yesterday was that the island of Oahu, Honolulu City and County, came up with this proclamation, this act with care, or act with care, do not gather order, which I'm not going to read all that, but you can. Essentially, everything, the parks and the beaches are closed. You can still go swim into the water, but you can't hang out at the park. I think what they're doing is that they believe a large part of the outbreaks were due to large gatherings, large parties at parks, large parties at beaches, and I believe that's where they kind of thought the spread was due. So, folks, I'm sorry to tell you, this is where it is. And Scott, we got to talk about what this means on the real estate side on the 10-1. Let me kind of switch to my little slide over here you could roll your market update into this, Scott, and fill us in on what you think about that. What do you think is going on? We need to talk about what people are going to do here, because this thing is going to go on sort of ad nauseum.
Yeah, I mean, I actually noticed some of the gatherings in the park. I go down to Kapiolani Park quite a bit. I'll do my swims down there, and I work out around the park outdoors. And I did notice quite a few people. It was interesting. You'd see 10, 15, 20 people gathering as friends, and they're all just interacting. And I think we have this tendency to, hey, it's our friends. They're good. They're just like us. They're not going to get it, right? They don't have it. So I understand what they're doing and the why, but then, okay, now how does that affect us? Because that inter island quarantine is now in effect. Let's see, not if you're coming to Oahu, right? But if you're going to the outer islands. So they effectively put that quarantine on people from Oahu going to inter island.
Yeah, so let's clarify. Thank you for bringing that up. We should clarify that. So previously they had there was no quarantine if you went in between islands. Now what we're saying is, if you go from Oahu to one of the neighbor islands, you're still subject to a 14-day quarantine. Is that right, Scott?
Yep, correct.
Because I guess there was some sort of a loophole that was going on, that people were coming here and then they were leaving Oahu to go to the neighbor island, and that was their way to skip out of quarantine, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yep. So they've got that one out of there. So yeah, that's a bummer. So it is what it is. So one of them is Paul here. So Paul says, aloha, we're eyeing a property in Volcano, Big Island. Assuming we can get over there from Seattle, are agents able to show houses with the virus going around? Mahalo. Scott, I think you can hit that. Dylan had talked about that in previous issues. You want to kind of hit that one?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of issues here. For one, if you come over from Seattle, you're technically supposed to quarantine for 14 days, for 2 weeks. So you have that element you have to deal with. We are allowed to show people properties, and we're going out and doing it. How I've been doing it is I'm saying, hey, have your own rental car. I'll have my car. Let's meet there. That's the safest for everybody. Other agents aren't necessarily doing that. They will have clients come in their car. We have wipes, gloves, masks, and things such as that. So we are able to do the showings, but the biggest animal you have in this situation is the 14-day quarantine. You got to come here and stay for 2 weeks before you can start looking at property.
I think that's the most important thing, and I really want to stress that, because the 14-day quarantine is a real sensitive thing for local culture. It's emerged as a very important thing. local folks understandably get very, very upset when they find out about people that are breaking quarantine. So I would say to Paul, so it sounds, the answer to Paul, like to summarize what you said, Scott, is yes, we're able to show properties if you've passed your 14-day quarantine. That's the key. You have to pass the 14-day quarantine to make this work. Go ahead.
Can I answer one more thing with that? I mean, we're to the point with technology and things that if you're familiar with the area, we're doing videos and we're going along doing a lot of FaceTime work. That's where a lot of these people are buying sight unseen. We're doing a lot of FaceTime work, and that's not just at the property that's out in front. That's what the neighbors look like, walking around, maybe even a block. That is another alternative, but real estate is a very touch and feel kind of thing. And people want to get that feel. So if you're not comfortable with that element, then you got to be here, and then you got to do the quarantine.
This is by the way, I just want to thank everybody. The questions are great. They're making the show fun. We've got a lot of questions planned, but I like the live ones are the best. So here's one from Michael. Said, would you guys agree that it is more likely than not Hawaii will not reopen to mainland visitors this year? Oh, God help us, man. God help us. Scott, what's your sense on that?
Well, I will say that I have not been real thrilled with the governor's how he's been speaking for a while, but I do believe I noticed a change in what he's been saying in the past 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. And I feel like he's getting significant pressure at this point from the economic side. And I do think we're going to start to shift in that direction more dramatically at this point. I think there's starting to be too much pressure on him to open things back up to the tourist. And I see it prior to the end of the year, personally.
Yeah. So if I had to make a prediction, I would say that Hawaii will definitely be reopened to visitors before the end of the year. If this goes until January 1st, I mean, Hawaii's economy is primarily dependent on tourism, and that doesn't just go for local jobs. Scott, to your point, the governor is looking at his own budget, and he's realizing Hawaii has a constitutional clause that states that the state's budget must be balanced, and so he's got to work with the money he's going to have, and he's seeing that that money is vaporizing at an alarming rate. I think they already talked about they have got something like $2.3 billion in cuts that they're going to have to make for the upcoming fiscal year. These are huge deals, so there is going to be motivation. So Mike, I think to Michael, to summarize the answers, I think we believe that it's going to open up before the end of the year, generally speaking. When and what the conditions are and how it's all going to fly, can't really tell you. But that's the general one.